Well, thank you and welcome to the Farmington Library Education Series. My name's Chad Betz, and today we're going to be talking about overcoming the meh life. Now, meh, what kind of word is that? Several years ago, I was having a conversation with my daughter. I came home and I said, "How you doing?" And she said, "Meh." And that word stuck with me. I thought it was perfect. It's a little bit bored, a little bit unsatisfied, not quite where you want to be. And unfortunately, many of us go through our entire lives feeling meh. When we're kids, we have these grand ideas of where we want to go. And slowly, somehow, those ideas get wiped away. And we start to accept things being okay. They're not bad. Why should I change? They're okay. Now, I've written a couple books. One is Late Bloomer, It's Not Too Late to Succeed. And the second one is The Second Mouse Gets the Cheese. This presentation is based on the second book, The Second Mouse Gets the Cheese. I found that there are certain traps that we come into life that prevent us from getting to where we really want to go, to find that level of success that really drives us. Now, why do we lose that passion? One of the reasons are the people around us. The people around us have influence on us. Jim Rohn says that the top 5 people in your life, you're the average of those. I think that's kind of an oversimplification, but people do have an influence on how you live your life. An example of it is a story I heard from an outplacement professional who's a friend of mine. He was working with this guy who owned this big accounting firm, by all measures, extremely successful. He made his money. He built a big company. He was looked upon as being successful, but he didn't feel like he was successful. As he started looking through his life, he found that he really didn't like accounting, and reflected back on why he chose accounting. And when he was in high school, his parents sat him down and said, "If you get a degree in accounting, you will always have a job." And that was true, but it wasn't satisfying for him. So 35 years later, his parents were having an influence on his ability to find success. That's the power of the people around us. People who may not even be around anymore can still have that power over us. Now, the first exercise that we'll do, and I really encourage you when you get the handouts at the end of the program, and this is recorded, so if you want to come back and re-review it, and also on the handouts, you'll find information on how to reach me, and I'm always open to answering questions. But the first exercise, and really, think about this now, and like I said, I encourage you to perform it later. Who are those people who influence you in your life? In the handout, let's see if this is backwards. It is, so I won't use it that way. There are 3 groups that I talk about. One is your family. 2 are your friends. And 3 are others. Those are coworkers, acquaintances, and such. And that oversimplification of you're the average of the 5 people around you makes it sound like you got to kick the rest of them to the curb. And that's not right. There's no reason to abandon your family, abandon your friends, just to find your idea of success. But you might treat them differently. Just letting someone into the room. So what do I mean treating them differently? Let's say that your family is very scared of going into your own business. They say, "Well, you have a good job. Why would you want to go into your own business?" Maybe you don't go to your family with the advice or asking for support on that. They may be holding you back. Napoleon Hill said that, following your friends and family's advice can really lead you down the wrong path. And it's true because they don't necessarily have the expertise. If you want to learn about starting your own business, you should talk to people about starting your own business. And it's the same with friends. Sometimes our friends hold us back unintentionally. They care about us, they love us, and they want us to succeed. So when we start talking about high risk ideas, or even things that are going to take us away from hanging out with them sometimes, they may resist and try to hold us back and keep us from really experiencing what we need to do to get to that level of success that's in our head. And then the others, our coworkers, our bosses, they have their own goals and they try to impose those on us. And because we have a paycheck, it'll be nice to go and run off and follow our passion, but that's not necessarily realistic. We do have to follow their goals on our path to ours. And hopefully we find an employer where our goals are in line with their goals, so we can both march together towards success. So how does that impact you? By strategically talking to friends and family and still loving them and going to family functions, but not necessarily expressing things that might trigger your friends and family to hold you back. You can have those relationships. You can go to the family dinners and you can find and experience that love and support without causing the stress of the pressure to stay who you are rather than finding out where you can go. Our definition of success is our own. I can't tell you what your definition of success is. And unfortunately, in our society, when we think of success, we think of business and money. And if that was the case, then Ebenezer Scrooge would be our hero. Does that mean a stay-at-home mom is not successful? Does that say someone who runs a nonprofit is not successful? Of course not, because their definition of success is different. And that's where we have to find yours. Help you find your definition of success. So when you get the handouts, and again, I encourage you to watch the recording of this, or again, reach out to me if you want. Write down the people who have the most impact on you in your day-to-day life. Could be positive, could be negative. You may not even know what that is, what the impact is, but the people who really are around you most of the time and have that big impact. Then I want you to think about how they're impacting you. Going back to the story of the accountant. Do you have, parents or siblings or friends or even children who are driving you towards a certain outcome because they think that's best for you in their minds? Do you have coworkers who hold you back because you want to do something on the side, but they find that threatening? Or your boss might think that, oh, you're trying to leave your job. And then with your friends, even if it's going to fitness, going to the gym rather than going to a restaurant, do they feel threatened by that you might be trying to improve yourself to leave them behind? Analyze those relationships and see how you can change how your interactions. And again, we're not kicking our friends and family to the curb. They're important to us. They're part of what makes us whole. But we don't want them to hold us back either. And when we find once the process is going down the line a bit and we're starting to see some successes, they come along because they see that the risk is not what they thought it was. So identifying who has the influence on you, analyze how they're influencing you, and determining how you can interact with them to still maintain a relationship without holding yourself back. Now, with questions, feel free to pop in and just ask a question, or if you don't want to ask it online, to put it in chat. And if you're watching the replay, again, if you have questions, you could reach out to Heidi or to me via the handouts to answer questions. So I'm always open for questions. And because this is a webinar kind of format rather than a keynote, I might go a little faster. But I'll keep it, and then if I do go too fast, just raise your hand or tell me to slow down. Of course, on the recording, you'll just have to hit the 50% on YouTube to make me go slower. But and the people live, just let me know if I'm going too fast. So we've identified the people around us and how we're going to interact with them, how they influence us, and positive, negative, or figuring it out, and how we're going to react to them. From doing that, we're now, working on what else keeps us from our passions. That's our responsibilities. The job. Oh, the kids. Oh, this. I have to go do that. I have to go do shopping. I have to do whatever it is. There's all these things in the way. And they can form traps. And as I mentioned with the second book, The Second Mouse Gets the Cheese, that's based on the old joke that the early bird may get the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese, insinuating that there are traps out there. And I found that the responsibilities and the things we go through life have thrown 3 traps at us. One is the mediocrity trap. The second is the isolation trap. And the third is the artificial life trap. And Rob, I see Who Moved My Cheese? That's a classic. I wish I was that popular, but that's a fantastic book to read. Has a different lesson than what I'm teaching here, but it is a valid lesson, and it's I recommend that book highly. So thanks for that comment. Now, the mediocrity trap. What is that? That's being stuck in, okay, life's okay. My job's okay. My relationships are okay. They're not great, but they're not bad enough for me to act on it. And because of that, we get stuck in the middle. We're not failing, but we're not achieving. We get comfortable in the mediocrity, that we just keep on going with the flow. If the river's taking us this way or that way, we kind of meander along. Maybe our goals just went by. They just flowed by as we're going down the river. And all of a sudden, wow, I'm too old to do this. Oh, I'm too fat to go back to the gym. Oh, I'm too this, I'm too that. And we lie to ourselves as we're going down the river. It's okay. And we say, oh, we can't do this. We can't achieve that goal. But we get the sense that success has an expiration date. And that's not true. When you look at people who have succeeded later in life, Colonel Sanders in his 60s with Kentucky Fried Chicken. We have Grandma Moses started painting in her 70s. And there's lots of there. Mary Kay Ash, I believe, was in her 50s when she started Mary Kay Cosmetics. And we look at all of these examples of people who have succeeded, have done great things, even though they've passed what they may have thought was their prime. Because success does not have an expiration date. And there's no reason why it should stay on the meandering river. So looking at the mediocrity trap. And again, this is an exercise that I highly encourage you to do once you get the handouts, is how do you experience that trap? Are you in a job that you've been with for years and years, and you've gotten comfortable with it, but it's really not satisfying? Have you wanted to do things, travel, or other hobbies that you've wanted to do, but you've never quite made the time. Where do you lie in that mediocrity trap? That life of things being okay. Once you see how you're reacting to it and where you are, you can start planning on how to get out of it. And again, this is not, oh, I'm going to go quit my job and follow my passions. We want to be realistic. Maybe if it's the job, maybe it's to take a class to get some more skills, to see what you need to do to get to where you want to go, to take more time with your family if it's a work-life balance issue, to put down your foot and say, I'm going to start that hobby. I'm going to go hike in the woods. I'm going to go build model airplanes or whatever, in my case, I'm going to go write a book. It sounds like a crazy idea, but what is it that you can do to help get you out of that mediocrity trap? And when we're feeling things are okay, but we're just not happy with it, we can fall into the other trap, the isolation trap. Oh, no one else is going through this. As I'm on my own with this. Have you felt that? Where you're going through something, whether it could be traumatic, like a sudden job loss or a health issue, or just everyday things, the price of eggs, or whatever it is. It's just, I just feel so alone and so isolated. And it makes it hard to get out of the traps because you feel alone and small and you don't know what to do. You lack the confidence. But by reaching out, and it's not, even if you're introverted, you're not going to go and talk to people about your feelings. Even reading biographies about people who have done what you want to do can be uplifting. Being in Connecticut, we could talk about the snow. So if anybody's in the South watching this on YouTube, sorry, you're not experiencing this, but in here, especially up in northern Connecticut by Farmington, there's a lot of snow. And if you have a foot or a foot and a half of snow, when you're the first person to walk through it, it's hard. You lift your foot all the way up, put it all the way down, lift it all the way up, all the way down. But if you found someone who's walked the path before, it's not as hard. And then if more people keep walking the path and that snow gets packed down, it's easier and easier to walk. And it's the same thing with our goals. When we see it, it says we've not accomplished it. There's that little voice in the back of our head saying, that's not possible. You've never done this. You're all alone. How are you going to do this? But by reading that biography about someone who's done it before, or done something similar, it doesn't have to be exact. You're reading books on how to accomplish it, if there are books out there on there. Talking to people who have done it before. Getting a coach or a mentor to talk to get you that path, to see that it's not impossible, to see that someone has already walked from here up the mountain and made it and came back, and that you can do it too. You're not alone. Life is a team sport. And once you start getting comfortable with it, going back to the Jim Rohn and the 5 people around you, setting up a mastermind group. Now, what do I mean by that? Setting up a group of people who have the expertise, who you trust, and who care about you. And you get together and you talk about each other's problems, and you talk about each other's goals, and you work together to find plans. So the mastermind group acts as a group of trusted advisors. It's a sounding board. It's someone to commiserate with sometimes. We'll limit the commiseration. But it's people who work together. And as they're helping you, you're helping them. You're doing the same thing for them. You're their sounding board. When they have a question for you, you can answer it. And together, you work. And it does a few things. 1, it combines all your expertise so you can grow faster. 2, it gives you that camaraderie where you don't feel alone. You feel you have a team, and life is a team sport. And three, you get the satisfaction of helping others while they help you. So that mastermind group can really help you grow, help you feel part of a community, and help you help others. That is the power of the mastermind. So we see that maybe we could do better than okay, that we're not alone in this. How do we make sure we're on the right track? That's where the third trap falls. The artificial life trap. Life is stressful. It's a cold, hard world out there. And sometimes it's easier to stay in. So what do I mean by that? There are online games that people play to get that satisfaction. We might work in small clubs rather than kind of teasing at getting our goals rather than leaving the club and getting out and doing it in the real world. I'll give you an example of the club. Years ago, I was with a volunteer organization, and volunteering is incredibly important. I'm not saying don't volunteer. I still volunteer today. But in this case, I lost sight of the volunteering. I saw it as, personal career growth, even though it wasn't. It was just volunteering at different levels. So I put lots and lots of energy into this pseudo career, which had some help to the community. I probably could have helped even more if I had stayed with just traditional volunteering and worked my way with my goals outside. I lived the artificial life in there. I was growing as as a manager, as a leader, but I really wasn't, because it was the easy path that didn't have the challenges that real world challenges have. So again, whether it's, and it's okay to play with the word Wordle or whatever, it's okay to do that. It's just when you get so saturated with it that you find yourself hours later saying, what happened to my afternoon? That's when you start getting into that artificial life, because you get that little boost of adrenaline from getting to that next level, or getting to wherever you need to be, but then it fades quickly because it's not real. So you have to do it again. It fades quickly. And the game designers and other areas, they design it so that you stay. It's like going to a casino. My sister-in-law went to Mohegan Sun, and they have the outlets there. She only wanted to go to the outlets. But to get to the outlets, you got to walk through all the casino, go up the stairs, more casino, down the stairs, casino, because they want to push that on you. So that is, where, we can kind of get stuck in that trap of going to the casino rather than going to the goal of the outlet stores. And that's where the artificial life trap comes in. So this takes reflection. You're reflecting on your life and where you're the pieces of your life and what can be better in your mind. How can you improve your job situation, your relationship situations, your financial situations, spiritual, all the pieces of life that come together? How can you get out of that mediocrity level and to a place where you want to be? Getting together with people and learning on your own that you are not alone, that there are people who have accomplished, if not exactly what you're doing, things similar that can inspire you to achieve. And there are people out there who have the expertise to help you, who want to help you, and who you can help in return. And the last piece, again, is finding that you're on that true path. You're not in that artificial life that feeds your adrenaline and gets those endorphins going, but it's really not in the real world. Another great organization is Toastmasters. If you're afraid of public speaking, Toastmasters is fantastic because it gives you a safe space. You go in there, whether you're an expert speaker or a beginner speaker, you're treated the same. It's a no judgment zone, and you can learn from it, but it's easy to get stuck there. It's easy just to give presentations to Toastmasters. Whereas if you go and do a presentation like this one, it could be 40 people show up. It could be no one shows up. And that's it's risk, and it could affect you. You get nervous. Like, was it me? Is it this? It's that. And it's just it's not necessarily you as a situation, but it's a risk. So getting out of that safe space, getting out of that artificial life into the real world where you do have a chance of failure, and that's the risk, but the chance of success is even more. I'll give you an example. Again, go to Toastmasters versus outside of Toastmasters. I gave a presentation in Toastmasters that I was very, very proud of. And one of the Toastmasters came up to me and said, I like the way you use pauses. The pauses in my speaking. I'm thinking that I'm inspiring people and they're looking at my pauses. That's a safe space. And that's what they're trained to do, to give you feedback on the speech structure. I had given a speech almost 30 years ago now. And I had given another presentation a couple years ago. And a person walked up to me and said, you may not remember me, but I was in the speech, I was in the presentation you gave at XYZ way back when. And you changed my life. What is more impactful? Hey, nice pauses. Or you changed my life. That is a success you could see outside of the safe zone, outside of the artificial life. Getting the training you need, the support you need through your mastermind, making that commitment to get out of that mediocrity level, and putting yourself forward. Well, yes, you might fail, you might fall, but you're falling forward. You're falling towards your goal. Each trip, each fall gets you closer to that goal. You learn from it and you move forward. That is the power of avoiding the traps. Now, we've talked about the traps, talked about the people of influence. Now, how do you figure out what your idea of success is? And so we know that if we have these responsibilities and traps we have to avoid, or if we're in them, to get out of them. You know, we realize that people are influencing us and, you know, saying what our goals should be. But now, what do I do? I recommend what I call the 20 goals exercise. And that'll be in your handout packet as well. What you do is you write down 20 goals that you want to accomplish. Now, I want these goals to be, you know, mundane every day, but all the way out to the most outrageous, crazy goal that you can think of. Then I'd like you to rank those goals. Which ones, if you could. So no obstacles, you know, pretend that, you know, it doesn't matter if with jobs or money, whatnot. What would you want to do first, if you could? And rank your goals that way. Once you do that, you'll find patterns. And in those patterns, you'll find your definition of success. Now, that's kind of theoretical and it may be hard to understand. So let me explain it the way I did it. So I, wrote down my 20 goals, and I do this every couple of years. Last one I did was a couple of years ago. I'm due to do it again. But the first time I did it, I wrote down my craziest goal was to write a book. Another crazy goal was to get up and do presentations like this. And then others were to write articles for a newsletter, to do a few other things. And there's work goals and things intermingle. There's family goals, other goals, and looking through it. And the patterns I found with the book, with the writing, with the speaking, was that I wanted to share knowledge with others. That was one big piece of my definition of success, is to be able to go share knowledge and to see people grow. I really love coaching people and speaking to people and finding them and having them come back to me. Oh, I did what you said and it worked. Or I tried it and it didn't work, but I'm going to do this. And we talk it through. So to get that is where my passions lie. And again, I can't run off and follow my passions. I can't sit at home writing books, coming out to the Farmington Library and, doing these presentations every week. I need to have the day job too, but I'm getting closer and closer to my goals because I've identified what my idea of success is. So taking those goals, categorizing them, ranking them, finding those patterns helps you identify what your definition of success is, and you can work through that. And the funny thing is, you'll find that your craziest goals are achievable. My crazy goal of writing a book, people always ask me, is it hard to write a book? And I translate that into them asking me, can I write a book? And the answer is yes, you can write a book. It takes discipline and some time, but it takes regular planning and discipline. The way I did it was every morning. I'm an early bird. If you're a night owl, you might do it at night. But every morning, first thing, as part of my morning routine, I would sit in front of my computer for at least 15 minutes. If something came, I would start writing. And sometimes I was late for work. I was writing for 2 hours, I had to rush to take a shower and get to work. And other days I sat there for 15 minutes and nothing came of it. But every day, 15 minutes. And then it grew into whatever it would be. And then from there, those 15 minutes came into a first draft, which then came into a second draft, to an edited draft, blah, 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 all the way through to a book. And the same can happen to you. It's like the old cliche, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Setting milestones and working through it. But that's a different seminar. So with this, before I go into some closing pieces, are there any questions? Let me see. Let me go back to the chat here. I closed it by accident. Oh, no, I'm not going to start quoting the Matrix. So that's a little bit outside my wheelhouse, although I do like that movie. Oops. I almost shut you guys off. That would have been awkward. So one question that I get is, can I really achieve those big goals? And that comes from the self-doubt. It can perpetuate itself in the mediocrity trap, where, oh, I've been doing this so long, I don't know if I can actually do it. And that's where that mastermind can help you out, where you have that support outside, because discipline is great. Motivation is fleeting. Accountability helps. So having that mastermind group to help keep you accountable on your goal, as well as your advising, helps moving forward on especially those big, big goals. And then when you can't see the end of your goal, if your goal is so big, you really don't know how you're going to get there, set milestones, mini goals, steps. Like the old stories of mailroom to CEO stories. The mailroom clerk did not become the CEO automatically. The mail clerk became the manager of the mail office. From there, they took some classes on accounting, went into accounting, found himself moving over to finance. And then from finance, he took the person took some public speaking classes and took some sales classes and went into business development. And from business development, he went to sales management. And from sales management, he went to VP. And from VP, he went to here, to there. And sometimes those milestones change as you go, but it's directional. The milestones keep you on track. And so you can get to a point where you see your goal. And goals well, yeah, goals should be fixed, but your plan should be written on paper. Change the plans, not the goals. If you have that big goal and things aren't working out, I'm not going to give up on the goal. Change the plan. Sometimes maybe you have to retreat before you can go forward. Maybe you have to take a left turn. Maybe you have to pause, but don't quit to find those pieces of your goal. So that is overcoming the meh life. Yeah, it's okay. Why be okay when you could be great? Thank you so much for watching and for participating, for those of you who are live. And again, if you have questions, feel free to email me at chadcbetz@gmail.com. I'll respond to your emails. Just put in Farmington Library questions so I know it's not spam. And again, thank you very much for attending. And for those of you in TV land, I hope you enjoy the recording. So Heidi, I think that's a wrap.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We're very happy to have you. Does anyone in the video have any questions for me? You can put them down in the chat if you'd like.
Yeah, thank you for participating, and participate as much as you can. Heidi does great work here. She has some fantastic programs. So make sure to look at the website and sign up for other things.
Thank you. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night.